Hello and welcome to Life is Feudal, Forest Village. I've been making a few changes since the last episode. Specifically, I've been adding in some mods and testing them out because I've still got this issue of having two villages so far apart that if I want to do something over here like chop trees down, I could have villagers from village 1 for instance come across and they end up going back home and starving to death probably, and vice versa. If I want to get a building built over here, yep, people over there are going to come across and probably help. So it's just not practical. Now, I'd really like to let go of village 1, but I've already got a caravan over here in the centre, which basically, it actually shares the food from a barn over there and a barn over there, so that we're actually very much dependent on village 1. I mean, I was at the point of actually just letting go of village 2 altogether, going back to village 1, and then just building out from there. Just starting again with like a village 3 from about up here onwards, for instance. But I had a look around the mods, and I think I've got probably a way around this now. I mean, we'll just have to see. I mean, I've been doing some tests, and so far it seems okay. But I've tweaked it a bit myself, so it's a case of putting it to the test to see if this is what we're looking for. I mean, I have introduced some other mods. I've got one which extends the resource list, because before there was like a scroll bar up and down because we had those two items had been added in, so it was just it wasn't big enough to cope. I've also got an option to zoom out a bit further now, which is a bit better, I must admit, and you can set the magnification level, so it's, yeah, I quite like that. I've got another mod which is for decoration. What it does, it alters some of the buildings. I mean, a school used to look like that, for instance. Now it looks like more like a proper building. So it's got a big, nice, shiny bell. We've got some books in there, some shelves, some tables, and so on. So that looks a lot better. We've got is this the tavern here? Yeah, we've got items in the tavern as well. There's a few buildings that have been modified. It's just purely just for looks. But the real mod that I've introduced is, where can we find it? It is there, Forest Village Revamped. And what it does, it alters basically the time management system of the villages. It does quite a lot of changes. And what I've done is I've actually taken parts of it out, specifically the one that affects the actual the hunger levels of these villagers, because at the moment, I mean, if somebody comes across from village 2, gets to village 1, gets hungry, and then walks back, they'll probably starve to death. So the way the modder was sort of like pitching it, it's like, if you think of their hunger level as like a battery, the idea is that, they can only top up to a certain amount, and once you hit a low level, the battery starts to run out. They're hungry, and you've got to get that battery filled back up again. Otherwise, they starve to death. So what they've actually done is they've increased the capacity of the battery, and what that means is that these villagers, they can now last longer without having to eat. So it's the way I'm thinking about it. It's kind of like similar to, instead of having 9 meals a day, you now have 3 meals. They're just bigger, bigger amounts. So it's a case of the villagers are still eating the same amount of food. They just eat, well, they eat a lot more each time and less. And the good thing about that is it means a villager will be able to get from here to here and back again without starving to death, because that, they've actually got more energy to be able to last longer. A bit like the Duracell bunny, really, I suppose. But there was other sort of like things that got introduced. I'm trying to remember. There was things like it speeds up the actual walking pace. They now walk at about 2.5 times the rate. They can carry more. They can actually go further afield to actually get resources. They did something with the actual hypothermia levels as well. So I've stripped that all out, taken it all out right back to the bare bones, because all I wanted was just the values that affect the actual villagers' hunger. Because the problem, or the other thing it was affecting as well, was the actual things like production of the resources in the fields, for instance, and in the coops and so on. The argument being that, you know, people need to eat more, and I mean, they're pretty voracious. It's like letting locusts loose. I mean, I've just literally got the mod up and running now, and you can see we're up to like 20 people are starving to death already. They just literally rip through the barns looking for things to eat, and it's a case of the recommendation is, you know, do this when you're starting from scratch, because these people are going to eat a lot more at each session. So carrying capacity was increased, and it was I think the argument was that they're going to eat a lot more, they're going to take a lot more back to the house as a result, so they need to carry a lot more, they'll need to do it quicker because they're going to go further away, yada yada yada. So what I've done though is I've just literally stripped a lot of that out. There's only 2 variables now being changed, so I've got this little test right up at the top there. That one's disabled. I might find again. That mod, the mod itself's been disabled, and I've just got this little test one that I've just set up. But all it does, it just affects the actual the amount of food that a person eats, and so how often you have to go and eat. So yeah, they still eat the same amount over the period of time. They just eat it a lot quicker, if you will. I suppose one of the benefits of that is it means they don't have to keep going back home as much. I think, I'm not 100% sure, because the trouble is people still go back home if the house is busy. If the house is empty, they'll go back and get more food to put in the house, and they'll probably have to make more trips to bring in more food to the house. So it's 6 and 2 3s. We'll just have to see how it plays out. This isn't going to affect things like the hypothermia levels like the mod does. They still can only carry the same amount, they can still only walk at the same pace and so on. But it should mean that they can actually last between the 2 villages. That's what I'm banking on anyway. Now, it's a bad time to introduce the mod because it's late fall. We're going to run out of food really quickly. And this could go... I mean, I've played it out, I've tested it, and it did go... It did last, you know, the last like a couple of years at least. I mean, that's going to drop. It's inevitable. That is going to drop. The question then is the tactics on how to recover and how to keep everybody alive, basically. So I'm going to let these go. I'm going to drop it down as 3 speed. That'll probably start going back up again at some point where we'll get more and more people starving to death. There's quite a bit of food around, but bearing in mind it's spread out all over the place. So yeah, it's inevitable. People are going to starve to death. Now, there's a few things I do want to do before we hit the winter, because I want to prepare, because one of the benefits of this is it means I'll still be able to get people to deliver goods to buildings. I can still chop trees down, and I don't have to worry about people starving to death. So I want to take advantage of that now while I've got the chance, and just to make sure we're getting something out of this. So I'll do a bit of work over there and over there. Get all this stuff, because early on in the game I used to regularly chop all of these trees down, so we used to get plenty of wood for the actual sawmills over in Village 1. Now recently I just haven't been willing to risk it, because I know people would come across and starve to death. It's a bit risky. I don't want to go a bit any further than that, because as soon as we hit the fall I'll probably end up with people dying hypothermia, so I'll probably have to cancel that at some point. Now, other things I want to do is I want to put in some foundations so that we're ready. So that building there, we're going to get that built. It's a little small house. Once that's built, I'll upgrade it, and then we'll rip this little shack down, because that'll make people happier, and there'll be enough capacity for the fishermen here and here, plus for the gatherer around here somewhere there. There are 2 gatherers there, so that's total 6. That's exactly what I need. Another thing I want to do is we need more stone. Now, fortunately, there's actually some stone out here, so that's quite handy. And I think there was some around here as well, so I can get them to gather more stone. I mean, we've got a bit of stone. but I could do with a lot more, because one of the real things I want to get done is I want to get this barn here, this one here, I want to get that built as soon as possible. It does make quite a bit of difference. It doesn't look at, I mean, there's the distance from here to here doesn't seem that much, but it does seem to be a lot more beneficial, I must admit. Something I need to go around and double check these. Yeah, I don't know why, but some of these filters aren't set properly. Just double check. Yeah, I don't know why these aren't fully empty. Right, that'll do for now. I'll have to check those and the rest of them, because basically these barns here, the idea is only the caravan stables bring things to them. I don't want people dropping them off, any goods off. Another thing I want to fix as well is these fields here. They're taking potatoes all the way up to this barn, which is just nuts. It's far to be going. So I want to at least get the foundations in so I can get these built. Just make sure that that's lined up. Put one there as well. I'll pause them off and I'll just put them down there to remind me. But it means that once those get built, it'll be a lot more efficient for getting the vegetables out of there. So that needs destroying as well. So get back. May as well get rid of this while it's here before I forget. I'll let that go so we can get somebody to deconstruct that. Over here now, yeah. I want to get. I want to replace those with a normal house, but it means I'm going to have to destroy that one first, which means I'm going to build 2 little tents down here. It's just temporary. That's enough to be able to build. Well, it's enough to give me capacity for 4 people. Then we can deconstruct that and replace it with a proper house. I mean, this is all supposed to be temporary, but I'd rather have everybody living in one house rather than between 2, because it means they've got to put more firewood into both of them, more food into both of them, so it's not efficient at all. Up here, if I remember, we've got 4 people living here, but we've only got a shack that's capable of supporting 3 people. So I want to build 2 little huts over here as well. Just put them up there over there so I can remember to get those built as well, because as soon as we hit the winter it's going to be a problem. So I'll probably do those in the spring, but at least now I've got the foundations down, it gives me something. I think that's about it that I want to get done, but I'll let these get started, because there's going to be a lot of people. That's going to go up and up and up, because people are basically the villagers themselves. They need to eat a lot more than they did before. I think this person's probably going to be complaining of scurvy. Yeah, because they're not getting out all the vitamins and everything. It's a case of they're running out of food. Now, once we get into the winter, right, we're into the winter now, so I'm just going to let everybody go from the fields. Fields, that reminds me, we've got tons and tons of flax, so I really need to pause the flax fields off if I can find them. Yeah, there's one there, right, so I'm running out of real estate here. I can't see enough now. We'll pause that one off. Pause that one off. Pause that one off. That's 1, 2, 3. That's yes. There's no point running these fields at the moment, because I think there's like a lot of flax in one of these barns somewhere. It's that one there. Yeah, there's about 5,500 up there. If we come up here, we built a tailor over here as well. There's 3,000 in there, so I'm gonna pop that one up there. We'll pause that off. Now, what I'm going to do now then, I mean, it's not a great deal I'm going to do over the winter. I'm just going to, everybody's out of the farms. I'm going to pile everybody into the fish farms, into the windmills, and into the bakeries. because they'll be able to produce a lot of food over the winter. So I'm going to get that done, and then once we get back into the spring, we'll see how many people are still left alive. See you shortly. Well, we've managed to make it into the spring. We haven't lost everybody, so that's a good thing. But you can see there's the amount of food that's left. It's much lower. We've lost, I know, maybe about 10 people, I think, and based on people that have died of old age, hypothermia, starvation early on. I mean, there was probably quite the majority of them, I would imagine, died of starvation. But there's a lot of people, teenagers and children growing up, so that's a good thing. Now, what I've done now is I forgot to I should have changed these over to fish pies, so I've done that now because there'll be plenty of fish around here. Now these things have there's much more calories in like a fish pie than there is in bread, for instance, so it's better that I do that. So I've managed to put a few people back into the bakery. This is going to be interesting. We've got 6 people with a plague. It was 8 of them during the winter time, so yeah, fingers crossed they'll get recovered by the miracle of herbs. But what I want to focus on is this barn more than anything. So we're going to let that go. Now we're going to need 320 logs, which we don't have. So I'm going to get these folks to chop down some trees around here. Now there was some stone. I'm sure we had some stone around here at some point. So there's 64. We need. Wow, we need about 200. If I can get them all to chop these rocks up and get us stone, we'll be able to get enough to get that barn done. There's we need 50 and 60. So what I'm going to have to do is I'll get the caravanner here to transfer these across. So if we get them, bring some of the iron ore up to here. We don't need much because we're not upgrading that one. We'll also get them to bring up some clay as well, because otherwise they just the villagers, they just sit around. They won't carry it over themselves. It's just out of reach for them. Another 100 will do. Oh. Yeah, right, so that should do. Right, so off they go again. So I'll get them to focus on that. I am keen to get that done, but I'm more keen to get this done here, because the fewer houses that I've got, the more efficient it'll be. Right, so we've lost a pack mule over there. So pop that into there. Is there enough? Yeah, that sometimes loses another pack mule, so I'll pop one into there, so that keeps us going with mules. I mean, I could really do with putting some roads around here, but it's going to take a long time. I need them to focus on chopping the trees down, getting the stone, and getting this barn built. So I'm going to let them do that, and then once that's done, I'll bring you back. Well, we've got our barn built now, so that should make things a bit better here. It means people will, they'll bring the oats over to this barn, they'll bring the eggs and the meat over to this barn. We don't need any milk, so that's that there. We don't want you putting them in here. Right, so they'll focus on that barn, so it's much shorter distance to travel, so that should mean we end up with more oats in theory. We'll just have to see. We are running short on hay. I can't remember exactly how much I used to build that barn. I didn't use any to build the barn, so right, okay, so they just wolfed down all of the actual hay. Fair enough, so we mustn't have produced as much that last season. But we don't have that much. That's the only hay we've got left in all of these 4 barns in this area. So what I've done is I've bought some hay over the market. And I'm going to get these to deliver from the market over to this warehouse here, so at least should keep our cows going over the season. We're waiting for that caravanner to still take the oats from there to market, so I'm going to pause these other tasks off. I've actually increased the number of caravanners because these have been very inefficient at just not doing things. Now if there's 3 people, I'll free up the milk ones. I'll keep the milk ones going because it's usually the milk that we need. So I'll let them do those. Then once they've gotten the oats out to the barn, then I'll unpause those other routes because I've got to get those oats out there because it's early summer. We just don't have enough oats getting produced at the moment. So anyway, so now that that's barns done, it was tempting to go and do the barns over here, but I want to focus on these little small jobs. So we've got two huts here, so I'm getting those targeted now. We'll get those 2 huts built. That small house goes with those 2 huts there. We don't have many people left in the labour force. I've put most of them into the bakeries because we really need food. We're really short on stone, so I've put some people into the mines. As I mentioned before, I've now got an extra person in the stables. I've also opened up this fruit orchard over here. Increased the capacity on the hostel to go with it. Over the winter we've been buying oats, selling it off for wool, milk, whatever we can find. But for now I just want to focus on this because then at the moment there's only 3 people can live in here. We've got 2 hunters, 2 foresters. I mean, because there's work going on here, one of the builders has kicked somebody out. They've kicked out one of the foresters, unfortunately. But once these 2 little huts are built, I'll get this. I'll kick them out of the shack. We'll upgrade the shack, then we'll deconstruct the huts, and then they can move back into there. And then that should be better for them. And then it's a case of I'll start focusing on this one over here. I mean, that's, yeah, it's kind of 6 and 2 3s. Either way, there's that many things I want to get done, but there's just not enough people at the moment. If we get more and more people, which I'm hoping, then I'll start piling more people into that work. But for now, we'll just focus on this little bit here. See you shortly. Well, we've got our improved shack now built. The 2 little huts that were behind it have been deconstructed, although I must admit that was a bit weird for a while. I'm not really sure what was going on because I put the orders in to deconstruct these 2 huts the minute this shack was built and upgraded, I should say. I don't know why, but I mean they started to empty everything out, but nobody decided to move in here. I was expecting them to move straight in, but no, nobody was interested. So I had a few people wandering around without anywhere to live. One of the huts then got emptied, and a builder came along and started to pull it to bits. The hut that was on the left, it had like 13 eggs left in it. Somebody came and took those, and then shortly after somebody came and put them back again. But then after another short period, somebody came along, took them out, and then the builder went and deconstructed that. But still, there was nobody living in here, so it was taking quite a while before anybody decided to move in. But I mean, they're now there, so there's 2 hunters, 2 foresters, and that's exactly what we need. So yes, that had me scratching my head for quite a while, wondering what was going on. I fully expected them to like starve to death, but fortunately they didn't. So over here we've got 2 little huts, so they're just temporary. We're waiting for this house to now get built, so I unpaused that one. We're just waiting for all these things to get delivered, and then the builder will get to it, and then we'll get that one upgraded. So that gives us a capacity of 6, and then we'll deconstruct these 2 huts. So it means there'll be, you only have to bring like firewood, food to 1 building after that instead of 2. Because I'll then deconstruct this shack as well. Because this little house here will have a capacity of 6, which is, plenty for these 3 little buildings here anyway. So we don't need that shack as well. Because the whole idea was to replace 2 shacks with 1 building. Or 1 house, I should say. So we've got enough builders focusing on those the work over there. Over here, I want to make sure that this barns is ready for next year. So I've unpaused that. I'm going to have a check to see we've got enough resources available. I think we do, but I'll just have to see. But once that's built, it means that these should be a lot more efficient. They can just go straight to the barn to empty the fields. Now, when we got to early September, I decided early summertime, I decided to play it safe, and what I did is I put an instruction to clear these fields out. So this is now empty. These should be as well. That's almost empty, so is that one. I thought I'd just play it safe. So I mean, we've still got a reasonable amount of oats left. Out of what could have been 1800, we're getting 617 so far. So we'll just see how we go over the winter. But to be a bit more cautious, what I'm doing is I've got this caravan here. They're taking hay from here and bringing it to this warehouse. This caravan is then taking it from there to there, although they're sharing it between the two warehouses. Then this caravan takes it from that warehouse to that one, and they share it out as well. So it means I'll start sharing the hay out between the two villages, because sometimes I've found, like, you know, the cows suddenly start running out of food. And I've done the same with oats as well. I've got this caravan here is taking oats from village 1 and bringing them up to the barn, and then we're sharing them across the centre all the way over to here. So hopefully I won't have to start, you know, keep buying oats, because we've got quite a few spare oats over here at the moment. Not so much over here. We've got nearly 3,000 in total, but yeah, I'm just trying to balance things out. So I did manage to get some more people back into the bakeries. What I'm doing is, once this goes up, you know, about, you know, another 2 maybe, I'll put those into the bakery. Every so often I'll put one person into the mill, because we're not producing as much flour as we could. And we definitely need those, because we're making fruit pies, vegetable pies, fish pies as well now, as well as some bread. But yeah, I definitely need more flour making. So I think for now though, we're just going to focus on that barn there, getting this house built and upgraded, and that should improve things quite a bit. So I'll get on with that. I'll bring you back once we're ready. Well, we're into early winter. We've got this building, little house here built now. I'm just pausing off the huts and the actual shacks just to sort of get everybody to move. We did get one of the barns built. The other one, I'm now just waiting for the builder to finish that one off. So hopefully though, everyone will have moved into this house here. So there's 2. Now why have I got 2 people still living in there? That's a bit weird. Yeah, there's 2 people still living in this, even though the hut's actually paused off. That's a bit bizarre. Right, so I may as well get the builder to decommission these, because we don't want them anymore. But I've now got to unpause them. And we'll just get those emptied. I mean, the trouble is you've got to wait for everybody to start bringing resources into the building now. I mean, there's only a lumberjack and a child have decided to move in so far. So there's a few people dotted around that are like got nowhere to live officially. So we're going to have to wait for all of those to suddenly make up their minds, probably realise I've got nowhere to live. Where am I going to live? And then this is a house right there, you know, it's the elephant in the room. Look, there's a house. Go and live in the house. I don't know. Right, so I'm going to pause that off. I mean, there's not a great deal I can do now in the winter. We're tempting to get this house over here. Oh, there you go. Everybody's decided to jump in, so that's good. So we've got a builder, 2 lumberjacks, a healer. Yeah, both builders have decided to go there. So it's kind of strange that the way the builders just kick people out when it's you know, something's going on in the area. But anyway, I'd love to get that small house done there probably next, and then we can get rid of this. It should be then, it'll make the people more happier for one thing. And then I'll have to start thinking of what to do next. I mean, I think the plan would really be to get the stable, because there's a caravan stable around here that needs building. There's a hostel. that one there. Yeah, I think that's going to be probably a key target next, because then I can get them to start bringing things to the actual closer to this house, so it's less, less distance for people to travel. So we'll get this sorted out over the winter time, because it's really just the builders have got to get these places deconstructed, and the folks have got to empty these 3 buildings here of any resources in there. Oh, that's interesting. That's officially unpaused. Oh yes, I've got one deconstruct now. Right, so we'll get this done over the winter, and then I think we'll start focusing on that and the caravan stable. So, I shall see you next year. Well, it's summer now and we're still waiting for this house to get upgraded. So, in the meantime, what I've done is I've put some roads in. That should make it more efficient for the people that live and work in the area. Also for the people out here, because sometimes the people are still coming out here to get fish. I mean, I'm sure I put an instruction in. Ah, yeah. There's an instruction in from the caravanners. They're supposed to go and get fish from that barn, but they're supposed to leave some behind for the actual people that live there. But obviously when they don't bring any across, I think the people are just going over and taking it anyway. The caravan stable over here is now built, and we've got the instructions to transfer things backwards and forwards there, but we could really do with more food. We've got everybody packed into the jobs over there. I think there's a couple of mills that I've actually got on pause over here, along with the fields. So I'll just wait for the population to go back up to start probably plugging those gaps. But I think in the meantime, I mean, because it's summer, I think I should be able to get these ones done. So I've got like a scarecrow here and here. There's orchard here. Then we should be able to start to get more fruit produced over in this region. Once the population goes up as well, we can get more people over here to do this farm. Then that just leaves that orchard over there, so then we'll be maxed out on vegetables and fruit. So I think we'll just get to focus on these. I'm going to have to wait until this orchard's actually built, because I'll have to find out where to put the actual scarecrows at the front and the back. But hopefully we can get those up so that they're ready for next year. So, I'll see you then. Well, we've now got our house over here built. The roads are now completed as well. So this area here should become a bit more efficient now, because people can move around a lot quicker. We've also got a gatherer now who should be living over here. Yeah, we've actually got 2 gatherers, which is interesting. I thought we only had 1. Oh, we've got 2. Yeah, well that makes sense. Six people, 4 fishermen and 2 gatherers. So yeah, that should be better. Orchard-wise, that's now completed. Although I've had to wait until the spring and the snow to thaw out so that I could find out where to put this final scarecrow. So that's going to get built at some point. Just needs people to bring everything across, and then the builders can work on it. So I've put 4 people in. I've increased the accommodation over here for them to live. Now, over here I want to make this area more efficient as well, so I've put in the instructions to build the roads around here as well, so that should make it quicker for these people to get the fish from the fish farms and take it to the barns. Now, because I spotted that problem over here where we've got 4 people working here but only enough room for 3 people to live, I actually went round and did some more checks, and sure enough I did the same in other places. For some reason I think I might have intended for 2 hunters and 1 forester, but seeing as there's 4 people here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to repeat the process. I'm going to go around all those 3 areas. We're going to build a little tents, then we're going to upgrade this shack, and then we'll demolish the tents, so that way we'll end up with 4 people being able to live here. Because at the moment one of those hunters, I believe, is yeah, one of the hunters is living down here somewhere, so that's not really ideal. They should be living up right where their work zone is. So I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, we ended up with quite a higher population, so I ended up putting 4 people into the apiary over here. I'm just waiting for more people to come along, and then we can start getting like other areas populated, I suppose. Because I mean, like over here, for instance, the mill here is on hold, so is the field that goes with it. But I mean, we've hit the max. We've got like 10,000 grain, which is way more than we need. So it's probably just a case of opening up the actual mill more than anything, because we're going through flour pretty quickly. We really need to produce more flour, but we'll just wait for the population to come back up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on these little huts here, get those little issues sorted out, then we'll think of where to go next. So see you shortly. Well, we're into the winter now. We've got our roads around here built, so that means these fish farmers should be more efficient. They'll be able to get backwards and forwards to the actual barn a lot quicker when they go to deposit their fish. They'll also be able to get, you know, to and from their homes as well, because they're going to have to go there whenever they're hungry or whenever they, whenever they get cold. So yeah, they should be able to, you know, get backwards and forwards to their homes a lot quicker as well. So that's definitely good now. The little shacks we've upgraded are now done, so they can accommodate 4 people, which is enough for the actual people that work there. Now the only thing is that I'm not 100% certain if that's actually fixed, because while I was upgrading this one here, for instance, there was actually a farmer living over here. Now that farmer actually worked in this field here, so I'm not 100% certain if, you know, I might get a farmer coming back here when we get to spring, because at the moment all of the farmers have been pulled out of the fields. It's just a lot easier, I'm finding now. Before I was allocating farmers to the bakeries, to the mills and to the fish farms, so it was just easier, just pull everybody out of the fields and then fill up the jobs, you know, out of that big surplus pool, because to be honest the farmers would just be standing around doing nothing anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And you know, if people die of, you know, natural causes, hypothermia or whatever, they can just get pulled out of that labour pool anyway, so it's yeah, makes things a lot easier. But as I say, we're just going to have to wait until the actual farmers go back into the fields to see what happens to these 3 little shacks, whether, you know, we still have 2 foresters and 2 hunters living there like we should. But the question then is, where do we go from here? Because I mean, there's still a lot to be done in Village 2. We're talking about, there's another orchard over there to be built. We've got a vegetable farm needs occupying. We've got barns to build. We've got a healer shop there to build. I'm pretty sure there's a school around somewhere. Yeah, there's a school over here to be built. Barns up here. There's at least another stable around somewhere I think needs building. So there's still a lot to do. And I've got to say, I think that's pretty much, I think that's really just possible because of this mod that I've found. I mean, all I've done is I've just taken 2 game variables that were basically changed within that mod, and I've used those to be able to control people's hunger levels. So it means, you know, like I was saying before, it's basically they're like little Duracell bunnies. Basically, they can store more energy, which means they can last longer. And that's ideal for me, you know, for going like from Village 1 to Village 2 and back again. I mean, they can do it now. I mean, since the start of the actual episode, quite a few people did die of starvation, but it's been perfectly fine after that. I mean, sure, we're getting people dying of like hypothermia, so those are things I'm going to have to look into. Maybe it's a case of they're just having to travel too far, so it's a case of they're staying out in the cold a lot longer. I'll have to rethink some of those, but it means I'm now in a position where I can chop a load of trees down here, for instance, or we can go and mine stone around here, iron ore, for instance, and I don't have to worry about starvation. I can, you know, get a building started. I can get people to bring resources to the building sites. People are just not going to starve anymore. So it's a big game changer for me. It's a real lifesaver. So I've got to say a big shout out to the mod author Sinwok. I mean, I think without this mod, this sort of strategy of 2 villages would have been, it's just not practical. At least not for me anyway. I haven't found a way around it until I came across this mod that he'd made. And as I say, all it is just changing two of the game variables, and that's it. So it's simple change, but it has such a big impact. So I'm really pleased I found it now. But I'd have to say that's it for this episode. I do hope you've enjoyed watching it. If so, then do please leave a like, because that'll help me out a great deal. If you're new to the channel and you'd like to see more content like this, then yeah, do please subscribe. Just remember to click the little bell icon though, because then you get notifications when I send new content out. And if you've got any comments, any suggestions, if you want to leave any feedback at all, please post that in the comments section below. Till the next episode, thanks very much for watching. Bye!